So being the last on stage, I'll try and keep you all awake with the floating mirror ball that I have here. I founded Hope and Play back in 2008. I was really hoping not to start with a slide like this. When I was preparing the presentation a couple of weeks ago, I didn't have this slide in, but as you all know, following the news, it's kind of kicked off again. So it's relevant. The tragedy is that the traumatization for children doesn't happen just during these times, it happens in between times as well. And I'm just going to tell you a quick story of when I was there 2 years ago. I'd just left the British Cemetery. I didn't know there was a British Cemetery before I was there, but there is. And within about 30 seconds of leaving the cemetery, walking back to the car, warplane comes overhead and blows up the building, probably no more than 2 or 3 blocks away. Now, if you can imagine a wall of houses alongside one side of the street and the cemetery on the other, the houses sounded as though they were wailing because of the number of children, young children, 5 or 6 year olds, some of whom it was the first time they hear something on this scale. Some of them heard it 2 years ago and it was bringing back memories. Just as worrying for me, probably no more than 30 yards ahead were these couple of young teenage boys, must have been 13 or 14, who barely flinched, as if a bombardment 3 or 4 blocks away is the most normal thing in the world. So at both ends, that's kind of screwed up. You don't want children to be feeling like either one of those to this kind of issue. And that's why we started the project that we're doing around trauma. I really actually wanted more to talk about. This was going to be my opening slide. Rima, one of the girls who went through one of our previous programs and went to our summer camps on the seaside, lives 1 mile away, but had never been to the beach before the age of 6. Astounding. But Hope and Play is a tiny charity that works through a number of local grassroots organisations to implement big projects. So we've put over 1,000 children through these summer games. We've built children's libraries, we've built children's playgrounds, we've supported education in schools for disabled children, a ton of stuff that goes on. But probably the one that's most impactful out of all of those is the one that I'm talking to you about here today. And the reason for that is, if a child loses their education at that stage, it's very, very difficult to get it back, and you've kind of lost the child. Symptoms of trauma are varied. Sleep deprivation, reaction to loud noises. I haven't got time, but if someone can ask me about how they respond to loud noises in the Q&A, I'll happily tell you. Inability to focus for more than 30 seconds at a time. Now you can imagine as a child trying to get an education, what kind of an education are you going to get if you can't focus for 30 seconds? So this program, which is led by local organisations, takes children through a series of workshops over a period of 4 months that aims to do a few things. First of all, address some of the underlying issues. It may seem absurd, and most of us associate it with children who have been traumatized through abuse, but a child will ask, even with a bombardment, how was that my fault? So there are the underlying psychological issues, but then we also look to some of the educational issues. So part of the workshops, we go through their work real time, actually work through their studies and their education to help them with what they're studying today. But most importantly, we also help arm them with tools for how to deal with it next time, because sadly, it doesn't look like it's going to stop soon. But the kids need to be able to find coping mechanisms to go on with their education beyond. I'm always astounded, ever since I started working with girls, I'm always astounded by how much they can achieve for how little. So, yeah, we're looking for £6,000 here. Sadly, £6,000 isn't an easy multiple of 31. 6,200 would be nice, the maths works out nicely. £31, what are you getting for £31? You're actually effectively buying back a child's education. You're looking at a child that doesn't go to school because either he gets nothing out of it, or it's too disruptive, or she physically will go and run away and come back, or just disappear en route. These are children who are lost to education. we're buying their education back at effectively £31 a pop. And a part of what we're doing, you'll see there graduate costs, we're also training local graduates in the delivery of trauma treatment with the aim that once our project is over, those guys are still out there and available to their local communities to make sure that they can be used by somebody else on their own or whichever way, but we're enabling a local capability alongside what is already there because they work with experienced facilitators as well. We've actually just run a project of 500. I was hoping to share with you the results of that here. Sadly, our contacts there have slightly more pressing issues than to deliver a report to me right now. But we will be taking those and learning from them going forward. We've taken some stuff from Kids Company. I'd love to talk to the guys who were on before me as well about some of the things you're doing around trauma and see if we can incorporate some of that. Thanks for that, TFN. I wasn't expecting that one here in terms of learning. Did you ever wonder what happened to the Teletubbies? I don't see them anymore. The uniforms have all made their way into Gaza. The projects that we work on, including this one, are very much based on human capital. That's the point I'm making here. It's very difficult with the siege to get things in, so we're investing in what's there locally to try and make sure that we can build up that capability. And ultimately, and I love this shot. This was a boy in the YMCA. Again, I didn't know there was a YMCA in Gaza, but there is, and it's a tremendous social centre. We can't stop the waves, sadly. I'd love to stop the waves. I'd love to just stop all the violence that's going on there. It doesn't look like it's happening soon, but we can teach these kids how to surf. We can teach them how to ride through the waves and minimise the impact and try not to lose a generation of kids